thank you for being here. At this time, we're going to start our meeting for the Rules Confirmation and Public Elections. We appreciate everyone being here today. Just for the sake of our illustrious Michael Curl, we're going to start with the resolutions, and so you can get to your other meeting.
Thank you very much.
We're going to start. We have a quorum, and of course, today is August the 21st, and we're going to start with our two resolutions. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
And we will start with Miss Nancy Van Rees. Yours is, what do I have yours? Oh, right here. It's Resolution RS 2018-1375, Council Lady Van Rees, and it honors Janet Jernigan upon the occasion of her retirement from 54. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and we'll move forward?
Thank you very much. I encourage everyone to read the entire resolution because to talk about Janet Jernigan may take a couple of hours, actually. I know that there's probably people in this room that have been able to enjoy working with her side by side, both at the Madison Station 50 Forward as well as all the other 50 Forwards. She's made a significant impact, and upon her retirement, we wanted to make sure they acknowledge her service to Nashville and Davidson County.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We thank you so much for that thoughtfulness. And of course, we approved it. Next, we have Resolution RS 2018-1376, and that's Council Lady Murphy, and it recognizes Marcus Pannock upon earning the Eagle Scout Award. You have the floor.
Yes, so this is one of my constituents who has built a community bulletin board in the Whitland neighborhood area, which is going to be a fabulous place for the community that already gathers there, but to be able to share information. And I think anytime that our young people, first of all, are making it to Eagle Scout, we need to be praising them. But additionally, projects like this is something that it's they have to think of it themselves. They have to raise the money themselves. I mean, it is. Glad I wasn't an Eagle Scout. I don't think I would have made it. But so I just really appreciate everyone joining me and congratulating him and thanking him for his service to his community, our community.
Okay. Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we thank you so much. Now we have Bill. No, this we have Bill BL 2018-1292. That's Councilman Sledge. Okay, yeah, we good. Thank you so much. Councilman Sledge, would you take the warm seat? Okay, and that amends provisions of Charter 2.140 of the Metro Code of Laws regarding public records, commissions, membership, and the provision of secretarial duties.
Hello. So there is an amendment. This is a housekeeping amendment to a housekeeping bill, so I'd ask if you
Move amendment?
Second.
Second.
So the amendment literally is changing the reference and code.
Stop. Right,
Yeah.
right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We thank you so much.
Well, can I talk to the bill itself? Is that okay?
Yeah, you can do
Okay,
it.
so the bill itself, when we were complying with new state law and state public records, and we were appointing, somebody who was kind of the person in our staff to do that, we forgot to change the number of people who were on the committee, and that is what this bill is about.
Move for approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Ayes have it. Would you like a parking? Oh, yeah.
No.
At this time, we'll move to our elections and confirmations. We have the Airport Authority, we have the Electric Power Board, the Historical Commission, the Human Relations Commission, and the Sports Authority. And we welcome each of you. First, we'll start. We need another chair. And we will start with the reappointment. We'll start with the reappointment of Ms. Amanda Farmsworth for a term expiring June the 4th of 2022. Would you come up pretty late? We really appreciate you. And the appointment of Ms. Nancy Sullivan for a term expiring April the 6th of 2022. Thank you pretty late for being here. First of all, I have a couple of questions to ask you, and you all can answer them simultaneously if you want. Are you a resident of Davidson County?
Yes.
Okay. Are you a voter in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other boards or commissions?
No.
Not metro boards.
Not Metro. Thank you for saying that. You're exactly right. Any other Metro boards or commission? Okay, thank you. Okay, Airport Authority. Am I right? Okay, tell us a little bit about why you feel it's important to be a part of the Airport Authority.
Oh, geez, I could take 2 hours.
Okay, well, we're going to give you
So-
about 2 minutes.
Okay. How about 60 seconds? I've been on the airport board since 2012. We got a lot going on out there. If you haven't been out there, you can see it. We are in it up to here and doing hopefully a great job. And our new airport's going to be fabulous. If you haven't seen the video, please go click on it. It's going to be fabulous. So that I'll end with that.
Okay, what is it about this board that's so meaningful for you?
Oh, geez, because I love this city. It's and my commitment with the board is mainly that I'm a pilot, number one, but the financial background, that's what I do with the board.
That's very impressive. Yes, ma'am. Tell us a few things about yourself and tell us why this board is important to you and what do you think you could bring that I could not?
Well, I think I'm going to be serving as the engineer on the board. And besides being an engineer, I'm a resident of Donaldson. And I also have a business there. And I've got more than 30 years of experience in engineering. So I'm very excited. I think it's a good fit. I want to become more active in the community. And I think it'll be a really good fit with my engineering background and all the work that's going on there now on the construction.
Okay. Question?
I have a question.
This is the first one, Airport Authority, of course. Yes, you're recognized.
What is the likelihood of having council members record and welcome people to Nashville instead of just the mayor? That's pretty good.
That's a good idea.
I mean, there's 40 of us. You would have more rotation.
Ask the mayor what he thinks, and then...
And I'll get back to y'all. Is that a sheet of? Are you sure you're not a politician? That was a great deflection. All right, Mina, go ahead.
Okay, you recognize Councilor Johnson.
Well, thank you so much. This board works really hard because you do meet once a month and then spend good 2 hours in discussing great detail. And I do appreciate all the minute is posted. But it would be great if the minute was linked to metro site as well, because I had to go to airport site to go look for the minute. But nonetheless, you're doing great. But if you would, could you talk to me about GAOPE?
Sure.
Yeah. So
Want me to take that one since I've been around a while?
Yeah, I haven't had my orientation yet, so she's probably better equipped for that.
GAOPE is the planning piece of the board, and it is doing what right now we're tearing down garages and putting up really big ones, and tearing down the piece of the concourse out there and building a new one. It's all about the planning and the structures. It's also about taxiways and runways and de-icing and our streams and everything that has to do with engineering, environment, and the safety and the planning of the airport.
So what does it stand for?
General aviation planning, operations, environment or engineer. I don't even remember. I just know GAOPE that's all of our planning.
Well, thank you so much. And I love the BNA vision, and I like the 3D experience, and you guys are doing a great job, and I really appreciate it. And also the new direction you're going, more local flavor in the airport. I think that's a great, way to go, other than, wherever every airport is the same. So I really appreciate your hard work. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the committee? Anybody? Can I get a motion?
Move for approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers? The ayes have it. We thank you so much.
What if we just put Kathleen's picture up in there?
I'm open to suggestions.
Thank you.
You get these for just coming. It's an invitation to come back to another council meeting. The admission
Thank you
is free.
so much. Next, we have the Electric Power Board, the reappointment of Mr. Robert McCabe for a term expiring July the 1st of 2023. Okay, come forward, Mr. McCabe.
Thank you.
Wow. Are you a registered voter here in Davidson County?
Yes, I am.
So obviously you live in Davidson County.
I do.
Do you serve on any other boards or commissions, metro boards or commissions? Okay. Tell us a few things about yourself. We see you have great hair, but do you have anything other than that?
Well, I'm in the banking business with Pinnacle. I've been fortunate enough to serve with DaCosta NES board for a number of years, which is very rewarding to me because we're the 10th largest utility in the country. My experience is basically on governance and financial responsibility. We want to make sure we're delivering full value to the ratepayers of this community without exception, and preparing ourselves to meet the demands of a growing community with our capital expenditures and capacity. So my experience in general business is not dissimilar, and it's been a real privilege for me to serve.
Okay, you're recognized, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How long have you served on the NES board?
2009. I can't remember.
2009 was your first time.
10 years.
All right. So did you have the pleasure of serving with a current council member, Mr. Mendez?
I did.
Can you tell us anything bad about him?
I can't think of a single thing, actually.
I'm not sure.
I've known each other for a number of years. And actually, if I've got an issue or problem, I value his opinion. So we converse, 3 or 4 times a year.
That could be a reflection on you now. I don't know.
I've got a number of deficiencies, I understand.
Oh, this is terrible.
We appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's.
It's been my
quite
privilege to serve. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. You recognize Council Lady?
So I had the privilege of attending y'all's recent, in Nancy Van Reese's district, the plugging in. Unfortunately, I didn't know how formal it was and was not an appropriate attire. But what is the, how can we do more of that? Where else can you do those? Where in my district can you do that? Where in all of our districts? I mean, we need more of that. What's
We've
the plan?
got some more for sale over there. We can sell you a couple of panels right now.
I think if y'all haven't been there, it's a phenomenal. What it was solar up. Well, I think we went. I think the hashtag that the state representative I was with that I used was from landfill to light bulb or something like that. But anytime that y'all can do more of that, and you need council help, please come to us. We need to be doing that and other programs like PACE and things like that across Davidson County. So good work. Keep it up.
And we're doing a big project. Whites Creek High School is in my district, and we're doing a big solar project there at Whites Creek. We had a groundbreaking last May, and we're looking really forward to the solar panels in Whites Creek.
But it's important that we support renewables.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I think you all know we buy 100% of our power from TVA.
Yeah.
But we augment it with this public service awareness program. And, DJ's leadership put us in that business.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Any other comments? Yes, sir.
No question, just comment. I mean, NES, I think you guys know, it's only a 5-member board per the charter, and so it's a real live working board. And Rob, during my years, and I'm sure now, has done a great job. And I really, for half most, a lot of what I know about dealing with the Metro Audit Committee, I learned from watching Rob on the NES Audit Committee. And so thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You recognize?
Is there a motion? I was going to let Mr. Mendez make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers? The ayes have it. We thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
You're more than welcome.
Oh, good. That's an important thing.
Yeah, that's right. Very important.
Wow. Next for the Historical Commission, we have 5 people. We have Mr. F. Clay Bailey III. That's a big name. And we have Mr. Christopher Cotton, Ms. Michelle Hall, Mr. James Hoover.
Hoobler. Close enough.
No, we have to get it right. Hoobler. That makes sense. It's phonetically, that's the way it's phonetically spelled. The reappointment of Ms. Linda Wynn for a term expiring August 10th of 2022. So we need one more chair.
I got you.
It's like in elementary school. You can continue.
like some good
It's just
people
awkward.
here. I know, so this looks like some great people here.
I'm sure this may be the most people we've ever gotten in this.
The Historical Commission, the reappointment of Mr. F. Clay Bailey, and so on and so forth. I'd like to know if you all are residents of Davidson County.
Yes.
You all are registered voters in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other metro boards or commissions?
No.
No, nobody does. Okay, well, we can proceed. Okay, the reappointment of Mr. Clay Bailey and the appointment of Mr. Christopher Cotton, the appointment of Ms. Michelle Hall, the reappointment of Mr. James Hubler. There you are, Hubler. And where's Miss Linda Wynn? Are you related to Brenda?
No, I'm not. But I do know Brenda and we're good friends.
Pardon?
I do know Brenda and we're good friends.
Okay, that's great. All right, committee, questions? Okay, don't play favoritism.
This may be a typo. There's Mr. Bailey's expiration date is August 1st and everybody else is the 10th?
That's a typo.
So, probably a typo. I just wanted to.
We just don't
see
like
if
Mr. Bailey.
we're all going to be,
So in
you're all
the
going to be
motion,
here.
we need to say that. In the
Okay.
motion, we need to.
Is that going to mess something up if we,
I think that is actually correct.
it is correct? Is it better to sync them up, or are you okay with them being 9 days apart? Okay, it's not going to mess up anything ever in the future. It's your one and only chance. Okay.
Well, you're always trouble.
Okay, other than the concern for the date, does anybody have any question that they would like to ask this wonderful group? Yes, sir,
Yeah,
you're
I have
recognized.
one. Obviously, some of you are reappointments, other people have appointments.
Right.
This is it's an important group, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that you're doing it. Are there some things, because we don't, obviously, we don't see everybody all the time on these boards and commissions. Are there some things coming up that we should just be wary of in terms of protecting some of the historical values of Nashville? Are there a lot, or maybe I should rephrase it. Would it be helpful at some point for some of us to come to a meeting of the Historical Commission and listen to some of the things? Because, with all the stuff that goes on in Nashville, sometimes we forget that we have a tremendous history, and I'd hate to lose some of that. That's true. So what's better? Is it better to show up, or are there things that you're working on that we should be cognizant of?
That's a veteran question.
Yeah, well, I defer to Jim Hubler, who's been on since the Purcell administration,
Well,
who has the big picture view, the long view.
it's always a struggle with funding for the commission. Right now, there's been a reversion with all of the departments, and we're struggling to find a way to do that without losing a staff member, for example. The Historic Zoning Commission always is having a struggle also with the rapid development of the city and trying to do that carefully with good reasons for demolishing a structure or trying to preserve a neighborhood. It's important to remember where we come from, and if we destroy the city, where do we come from? So we've got an excellent staff, and it would be great if you could come to one of the meetings.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, because I do think this is important. As much as we become sometimes flying through here, there are important things in everybody's district. Everybody has really important stuff. And we're Nashville because of where we came from and who we are. So maybe at some point you could figure out a good time and invite some of us, or invite all of us, and we'll see how many people we can get out there. We won't talk much. We'll listen. It might be really difficult, but that might be helpful. With so many people in here, with 5 of you in here, I just thought I would ask.
And the one thing I'd add to what Jim said is that, with all the growth and the increase in tourism in particular, I think we're not missing, but we're not getting nearly as much out of our opportunity to be a cultural tourism destination as we could be. Franklin's doing an excellent job with that. And Nashville needs to catch up. I think oftentimes think of old people who are about historic preservation are not as attuned to tourism, but it's a very important component and a long-lasting one. Long after the bachelorette parties go away, we'll have cultural tourism, and it's a better investment.
Well, every so often I'll be someplace. I was actually we're close to, down Woodmont Boulevard, and I forget if it was Hopkins or someplace. And there's some type of, I think it's a Civil War embankment up in there.
Yeah, it's redoubt number 1.
Yeah, and I was like, what is this? I was walking around, it's like, I've never seen this before.
It's behind the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, and it's...
Benham.
Yeah.
And so there are hidden treasures in different places that sometimes we might not know about. And what I don't want to do is lose those, and I want to make sure that we do what we can to make sure we preserve
There's
them.
one right off of Abbott Martin, for example, when Frank Lou and Margaret were about to sell their property there, a friend alerted me to that and asked me to go talk to them. And we were talking about his interest in saving the property. And he said, there's a Confederate redoubt up here in the backyard. And I said, really? Why are you interested in that since you're from Missouri? And he said, well, his ancestor was in a Union regiment from Missouri. So I went back to the office and looked it up. His ancestor had assaulted that hill and taken it. And I told him, it's very important then when you're doing this development that you don't bulldoze that site. You set it aside and preserve it, and he did.
And that's the type of thing, and if we can just protect it, that's good. So if you can just let us know, I think some of us will come. I will make sure I'll drag Councilor Murphy.
Any other questions or comments?
I think this is a great group here, and I'm very excited to see all of you serving, and I know that you'll do a great job. And I may be a little biased.
Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers? The ayes have it. We thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we get the golden ticket.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Yeah, we got plenty. Perfect. We got plenty.
If you take the wrong one, you pay for everybody's money.
Dollars in private funding, yes.
And if you all move the chairs back forward.
We will.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have the Human Relations Commission. The Human Relations Commission, the reappointment of Dr.
But someone I know was
Pryor. Oh my God, that is so cute.
Oh, thank you so much. It's also the most comfortable thing ever.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's the best.
Jealous.
Thanks. And I got it for like $15 on Zara sale. Don't be bad at it.
Move for approval.
Don't get the Zara up on your phone. Or you might have a
All this
problem
is
like
being
me.
filmed, so
Oh,
just
sorry.
made a commercial for someone.
Oh, okay. Erin?
Yep, Aaron, yes.
Aaron, that works.
Yep.
Pryor for a term expiring April the 18th of 2021, the Human Relations Commission. Tell us if you, first of all, are you a resident of Davidson County?
Indeed, I am.
Are you a registered voter?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other metro boards or commissions?
I do not.
And tell us a few things about yourself and why this board is important to you.
Well, I moved here in 2011 to work at Belmont, and so I'm a professor in the sociology department. And one of the interesting things about that is that my area of interest and expertise is in inequality, in particular race inequality. Also, because I work at a Christian institution and we, are centered around those sorts of values, I've been really impressed with efforts towards social justice, and I feel like sort of social justice and equity is kind of at the heart of the Human Relations Commission. And it's been a real honor to be able to be a part of a group that really are trying to work for that justice and that equity for all people. If we are a city for everyone, if we're the city for all people, then we need to be taking into account those marginalized and sometimes quieted voices and be a voice of change and support.
Beautiful. Question, you're recognized.
So what you just said about social justice equity, thank you. I went to a Jesuit college and Catholic high school and all that, so that is very true. But I also want to take a little time out I don't think we have recognized you, Melody, for your Women's of Influence Award. Didn't you get a Women's of Influence Award?
If I did, it went under my radar.
Okay, maybe I'm confusing it.
Well, you should have.
Well, you should have.
Thank you.
We will name you one today.
So I appreciate it. Accepted.
We'll give you.
We'll give you her ticket.
All right, I'm good.
Okay, anyone else, any questions or
I
comments?
really appreciate your comment about social injustice and inequity. And in your point, where do you think in Nashville as a city, it's where we are, or what can we do to improve in that?
Oh, how many hours do we have? I think that there is, as is with a lot of cities that are growing, I think that there is, good things being done, but I think there's also widening inequity. We all sort of know the various areas, affordable housing being one of the big ones, food deserts, these kinds of things that are just continuing the displacement of folks because of all the gentrification that's happening. And so I think that changing cities and cities with a sort of robust population of diversity sometimes have to go through ups and downs in those ways. I think that the work that we do is contributing in many ways to trying to work with more sort of the structural arrangements in order to improve those things. So a couple of things that we've been involved in that I had the good fortune of participating in was the anti-racist training workshop through Crossroads Anti-Racism. And I've been doing, I do research on this. I've been doing this kind of work that's been a life passion since I was a little kid. But to be able to be a part of something where they're really talking about the ways in which to sort of institutionally examine this and then see the ways in which we can make changes was wonderful. And then also Mel and her team, and I've had the good fortune of joining one or two of them, the mobile diversity training for the police cadets, which I hope that and I know that that's extended now, and I believe that there have been other organizations that have asked for similar types of things. And so I know that I have been a help in saying some things that maybe could be reworked there to make that a more effective thing. But anytime we're working to get the people that are serving out there in front of the people that they'll actually be interacting with, that they may or may not in other areas of their life, I think that is a game changer, and that we want to just keep doing it. I wish that things like mobile diversity training was an every quarter training that every single police officer, not just cadets, went through, but I digress for another time.
Councilor Johnson.
I think one thing the Human Relations Commission could do in a proactive stance is to work with the Planning Commission. When you talk about affordable housing being the number one issue due to the growth of our city, you all could play a significant role in having input to avoid repeat problems with how we grow our city. I don't think there's any input at the table where people understand the subtle discrimination in housing. And one of the big things, when there was a change in the law where you have the affirmative fair housing rule that came up, we actually are not adhering to HUD standards because what we're doing is we're disaggregating poverty in East Nashville, but trying to repopulate the same thing through low-income housing developments in Antioch and other areas in Madison. And so we're only repeating things over and over again because there's nobody at the table. You get these commissioners that are clueless because they're living in other areas where they don't have those types of issues. So having 3 low-income and 4 low-income developments all pocketed all there together, that's recreating another Casey. So I hope that you all can have some proactive input so that we don't run into the same issues where you see
see this repeating itself, and we're talking about, well, people behind us are talking about it 20 years from now.
I don't want to overstep, so I'll let you explain exactly, but we are very involved.
Yeah, we would like to hear.
Yeah, so currently I'm serving on a team representing Nashville in a national cohort through Policy Link, an anti-displacement initiative. We have a year-long engagement with Policy Link in 9 other cities. And I'm the lead on the team. We have a little website that the stuff that we're learning from other cities, strategies, possible policy changes that we're learning, we're sharing with community through a website called Nashville All In. I will definitely send it to you.
Yeah.
And that is what I really like about that initiative is that the teams are purposefully built from both government and advocates. So we have the mayor's office, my office, and 4 advocates from Homes for All Nashville, the Music City Riders United, and others. So we've been doing this for, I think, it'll be our 4th, just ended our 4th month. So I'm really hoping that, that the Planning Commission and others will be interested in hearing what other cities are doing, what we can learn from them, and listen to the recommendations that that team could bring forward.
Wonderful. Any other questions or comments?
I'll just say I agree with what Councilor Johnson said wholeheartedly, and I really do hope, that you take a more active role, Perhaps having someone from your office on the Planning Commission would help, just to be a voice, because what I see a lot, I keep hearing people talk about the lack of affordable housing, but I don't think people really understand how it impacts them not having affordable housing like we're seeing, and when we talk about shaping policies, we have areas of our city that have no affordable housing, and they've enacted discriminatory zoning practices to prohibit having any opportunities to have that type of housing. And I know at the federal level they're starting to look at that, looking at how we locally use zoning policy to protect certain areas and at the same time, concentrating poverty in other areas. So I know that they're looking at, when someone comes and they're willing to put their property up and have some type of low housing income tax credit, that, they say, well, we can only use that here and in this area, but not this area. Yeah. We need someone to say that, it's okay to put some out east and out west and out north and out south, because that works best versus putting them all in one area, like she said.
Yeah, well, I've been, the commission and me in particular have been working really hard with advocates around the city on affordable housing, anti-displacement stuff. We're also publishing a 3-part series, educational series on the issue, right? So one, basic affordable housing, which is we've already published, and in about 2 weeks we're going to have the displacement data around, and education around the displacement, particularly for the Black community. And then the 3rd in the series will be about fair housing.
Yeah. Are you doing any when people go in and I want to down zone something out? I'm taking 500 acres and down zoning it, or I'm prohibiting apartments. Have you considered taking a more active role when council members come in and they're purposely doing this type of zoning to say, what impact that has?
No, that's very good. I have certainly talked to council members.
Right. And make it known, because when people, I think a lot of times when leaders say they're interested in affordable housing, you have the certain people out there as mouthpieces, but when it comes to policy and enacting that policy, it's not happening on the other side. So we really want the public message and the policy to merge with each other.
Great, I agree, and I appreciate the invitation to get even more involved.
That's great. Anyone else? Anybody else? Any questions, comments?
Move for approval.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers? The ayes have it. We thank you so much for
Appreciate it
your
so much.
service.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Sports Authority, the appointment of Mr. John Glassmeyer for a term expiring February the 17th of 2022. Mr. Glassmeyer will fill the unexpired term of Lisa Howe. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell us, are you a Nashville resident?
I am.
Are you a voter here in Davidson County?
I am.
Do you serve on any other metro boards or
I
commissions?
currently do not.
Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself and the Sports Authority, and what do you bring to the table that someone else could not?
I'm a Nashville native, so I've watched all these fine sports establishments being built over the years. I live in East Nashville, so
What high school?
McGavick.
Okay.
McGavick High School. Went actually 50 forwards in my old elementary school, Donaldson Elementary, across from Donaldson Bowl. So it's funny that there was a 50 forward mentioned here tonight. I've been involved with the city in other ways. I was on the Arts Commission back under Mayor Purcell and thoroughly enjoyed that. Unfortunately, started traveling for work and had to step away after that one term. So I've been on a board before, and actually this came at a really fortuitous time. I'm on the French Shelby Park board, and that's rolling off that after 2 terms here in December. So I've got some space in my schedule, and I'm a firm believer in giving back to my community. My grandparents were big believers in that, and they instilled that in me, and I've sort of tried to live that way.
So what age were you when you started serving on boards?
I joined the Nashville Children's Theater, I think in 94, 95, so I was wasn't quite 30, maybe 28.
I'm always impressed when people start early serving, like Council Lady Johnson. I think she was 19 when she started serving her community.
She's only 21.
I was gonna say
Just a few. That was only like 2 years ago.
Even if it were last year, starting at 19 versus me, well, I've done it all my life. I wasn't officially, but unofficially. But I think that's very impressive.
It's enjoyable. I was very intimidated in my first board, and I walked in, and Mayor Purcell was then State Representative Purcell and Byron Trauger, and I'm like, what am I doing here? And my very first meeting
Sounds like me down here on the council. What am I doing here?
I got him a van from the Nashville Auto Auction my very first meeting, so they hooked me, and I was in for life at that point. So yeah, I'm also a former rugby player, and I serve on a lot of boards regionally and internationally for rugby. So I've got some sports chops to help out with, and I'm excited about to see what we talked about. You all talked about the historic, tourism. And I think the sports tourism helps us a lot too. So I'm interested to see what new things we can bring to Nashville. And
you have
how it can
children?
help. I do not. I have nieces. I have 2 nieces. One actually does the mini cheerleader for the Titans. So.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate your service. Okay, do we have any other business, old or new?
Do we have any resolutions?
Do we?
up here?
No, we've done all. Okay, can we move to adjourn? Thank you so much.